and put the taper on our part. We're going to take a second here and we're going to look at the plans and kind of explain what the taper is, how we're going to set it up before we actually get into doing any cutting. So if we look at our plans here, we'll notice at the end of the part, all right, we've turned this diameter and we've turned this diameter. What we're after right now is this taper. If we look at the plans, we can tell it's a 15-degree taper, and then it tells us what our diameter is at the end of the taper. It doesn't tell us a length of the taper. That's going to be a function of our current diameter and our finished diameter at the end of the taper, including our angle. So this distance, not super important. What's important is the diameter at the end of the part when we finish. So we're going to need to go ahead and set the compound up to a 15-degree angle, and we're going to actually use the compound to do the cutting as opposed to the carriage and the cross slide. So we'll come over to the lathe, and we're going to go ahead and set the compound itself to a 15-degree angle so that we're actually going to cut moving the compound in and out. Now we're going to cut coming this way, so I need to spin this to a 15-degree angle. So I'm going to take my wrench here, loosen the two nuts on either side of the compound, and I'm going to swing this around, and I'll try and do it slowly for you here. And we're stuck. Okay, right there is 0 degrees, and we said according to our plans we want to be at 15. So I'm going to move this. There's 10, 15. So when I'm at 15, we're going to lock this down again. Again, it doesn't take gorilla strength to do this. Okay, just a little snug to hold that in place. Make sure you do both of these to lock that compound in place. Now, since we're using the compound, okay, we obviously need now to address the angle that our cutter is at. Okay, when we cut, we're moving the compound. So we're going to set the cross slide and the carriage in place, and we're going to move this in or out. So I need to adjust the angle of my tool by pivoting the tool post here. All right, so this is almost going to be, the tool post is almost going to be in line with the compound, so that as I move this direction, I am only again cutting at the tip. So once I like that, we'll snug up the tool post and we'll be almost ready to cut. Okay, our next step is to zero our DRO and find the part in space so that we can accurately use the DRO to cut the appropriate amount of material off to get our taper correct. We've set up our compound to our correct angle, and we've set the tool up so that it's going to cut efficiently. What we need to do now is zero the part out. And I need to zero the end of the part. So I need to know where the end of my part is, and I also need to know where the edge of my part is here. Step number 1 is to zero your compound. So I'm just going to turn this until I get to a 0 point. Every time I cut, I'm going to need to return to that particular 0 point, and you'll see here in a second. So step 2 is to locate the end of the part. So I'm going to turn the part on, I'm going to touch off, and I'm going to zero my DRO, and then I'm going to do the same thing, okay, on the outside diameter of my part. So let me take care of that real quick. Okay, so now by finding 0 here and 0 here, I've located the very corner of that part. So anytime I make a move, I'm going to keep my carriage at 0, okay, and I'm going to keep control or keep track of how much I'm cutting off on the distance that I move the cross slide in. All right, so to do this, I need to have an accurate number of what my part is right now, what this outside diameter is. So I'm going to take that number, and that is 749 thousandths. So I'm going to jot that number down somewhere. Okay, 749. And I know that when I'm done, I need to have 0.5. So I'm going to subtract 0.5 from 0.749. Okay, and that will tell me how much I need to remove, okay, when I bring in my cross slide. Okay, so I should know now, by doing my math, that I should be about done when I'm at 249 thousandths on my digital readout. That should be my finished cut. Now we can't take that all at once. Okay, we're going to nibble this off in 20 thousandths, 25 thousandths, 30 thousandths passes right now. So I've got my carriage set to 0. I've got my depth of cut set to 30 thousandths. I'm going to turn the machine on and I'm going to move my cutter using the compound. All right, so here we go. Now I'm going to back out until I get back to that 0 mark. Once I'm back to my 0 mark, I'll come in more on my cross slide and then cut with the compound. Back out to 0, in with the cross slide, right? Cut with the compound. Back out to 0, right? In. And we're just going to repeat this, taking 25 to 35 thousandths off until we get to that desired 249 thousandths number that we calculated. Back to 0. Another 30. When you turn the compound, try and do it as smoothly as you possibly can. That'll give you a nice surface finish when you're cutting. Okay, return back to 0 on your compound. We'll go to 35, 235. Back out to 0. Now this last pass we said was 249 thousandths is my finished depth. So we'll get to that. We'll make our cut. Okay, now we'll double check that cut using a caliper. Or you can use another piece that you know has been cut correctly. Okay, this isn't going to be super accurate, okay, but it'll at least tell us, if we're in the ballpark. Okay, and that's just falling over there, and we're a little bit over what we need. So that's tapering, folks. Not too difficult. Takes a little work in setup and math, but once you have it, just rinse and repeat.